True Boxing Heads, True Talk Radio. How you guys doing? Appreciate you tapping in. We're gonna run a little bit different. We've been doing the live podcast or the live telecast with the homie Boxing Guru on TikTok. Because I'm able to do that on that platform where he comes in and we go live and we interact with my TikTok people. But I'm trying to do it here on YouTube, so I'm not able to have him on. So I'm just gonna run this solo. This is a step in the right direction. We're trying to get back into the groove of talking boxing and getting down the way we do. So that's what we're gonna do today. Today is no different. So I appreciate each and every one of you. If you subscribed, if you haven't, make sure you hit the subscription. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. If I get something wrong, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know where you're tapping in from. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about this weekend boxing, and we're going to talk about a few boxing news, and then we're going to recap the fights that just happened, like I said. I think the big news we want to address is the big one. The original September 12th date for Canelo versus Crawford has been changed to the appropriate date of September 13th, which it should have always been. Maybe it was a negotiation thing, or maybe it was a date thing with the Raiders. I don't know. But it should be on Saturday, and it's going to be on the Saturday, especially a fight of that magnitude. I ain't trying to watch that shit on a Friday. I would watch it, but nah, we got to have that on a Saturday. So that's going down. That happened. It's official. Congratulations to everybody involved making that fight. I know we talked a little bit about that last week, and I'm glad that happened. It's a fight of that magnitude. It has to happen. So that's what we're going to run. Clarissa Shields, she's going to be fighting in the end of July 26th. She's going to be taking on Daniels from the Little Caesars Arena out there in Detroit. Manny Pacquiao announced he's returning January 19th after a retirement. A long layoff, I should say. I thought he was going to retire. Pretty much, it was damn near close. But after a long layoff, he's going to return to fight Mario Barrios from San Antonio, the Azteca, who's gotten all the big fights. Shout out to my boy Mario Barrios from San Antonio, doing his thing. Win or lose, you're getting a fight. Manny Pacquiao, the legend. My guy, you done did it, bro. You fought Gervonta. You fought on the Jake Paul. You done did it all, bro. You became a world champion. If y'all remember, my boy was fighting at 126 pounds and is now competing at 147 pounds. I don't know how he ever did it. But that's the big thing. Jake Paul signs Marshall, and he signed Cameron. He's signing all the females. I talked about that a couple weeks back, about how he's signing all the female champions from Baumgartner to Metcalf. Shout out to my girl Chicken. And he's got that card going down July 11th, I believe, or 12th, the day before Shakur Stevens versus William Cepeda out there in New York. So that's going down. So congratulations to him. So that's a couple of news that I can think of at the top of my head. I'm doing this solo dolo. Trying to work on the format. My big thing is I just want to get back into the groove of it, talking boxing with y'all. And like I said, if I'm right, let me know. If y'all like it, let me know. If I'm wrong, let me know. But we here, and we're going to keep doing it. True Talk Radio with the True Boxing Heads. But yeah, let's run it. So first things first, I want to talk about the fights from this weekend. We had the UK fights from the Zone. And then we had the Kissimmee, Florida from Pro Box. And then we had the fights for Top Rank from the Pechanga out there in San Diego. Talking about the fights from the UK. And pardon me, I'm watching a little bit of basketball. We got the Denver Nuggets up against the OKC in the final fourth quarter. So we're trying to knock out a couple things, multitasking. Because as soon as I get off, baby, we're going to get to sipping and drinking and hanging with the homies. But that's neither here nor there. Talking about the fights from the UK. The former champion Leigh Wood, before the fight, coming off the layoff, was saying that, in the time off he got to see the dark side of boxing, the bad side of boxing. And y'all know what that means. Unfortunately, that does happen. Maybe he felt blackballed. Maybe he felt not respected, like pushed to the side, not accepted, whatever. Things like that do happen in the sport of boxing. It's an individual sport. It's a lovely sport, but it could be a lonely sport. But either way, he made a few comments like that. He made some headlines. I think my boy should have been focused a little bit on the fight because, shit, he got served, he got beat. And, I'm talking a little shit, but at the end of the day, I got to give my boy respect. I respect all fighters. That's one thing I do, is I respect all fighters. I'm not one to talk shit. But he was talking shit, so, we got to give it a little bit. But either way, the guy who did it to him, Anthony Cacarse, who's a ranked fighter. He's a legit fighter. Now he gets the big win against the homie Leigh Wood from Nottingham, or it happened in Nottingham. And he got the big win. Gets to have a world champion under his belt. That's a big win, especially for him who's up and coming. He's rising up the ranks. I believe ESPN has him ranked number 2, right behind Navarrete, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, 130 pounds. And, with a win like that, he's already ranked, but a win like that, he can easily fight any of the champions. And, you got Andres Cortez over there with Top Rank. You got O'Keefe's Foster. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of matchups right there. You got Raymond Ford. There's a lot of guys out there at 130. But with a big win like that and a statement win, because, he dropped him, he hurt him, eventually gets the stoppage over Leigh Wood. Anthony moves on, and he gets to fight another day, makes a bigger payday. And shout out to all the UK fans. Let me know if I got any people from the UK tapping in. I need some people out there in the UK to hold down True Boxing Heads, so let me know. But either way, we're going to keep it going, And like I said, I'm freestyling. And a big win, but congratulations to the homie Anthony Cacarse, got the win over Leigh Wood. Leigh Wood, no matter what happens from here, you are a world champion. Once a champion, always a world champion. My respect to you. And again, I was talking a little shit, but that's neither here nor there. I respect all fighters. That's one thing I do. That's one thing that we do. We don't down no fighter. I don't care if you're 0-10. You still got the balls to get in there and put it all on the line when some people could just be sitting from the couch talking shit, But congratulations to both fighters. Hell of a fight, hell of an atmosphere out there in the UK, which I have to go out there. So, I'm out there. I'm putting it out there. UK, where y'all at? I need some representatives for one out there. Where you at? Let me know. But I'll be coming at some point, God willing. Also, from this weekend, we had the big fights from Kissimmee, Florida. Shout out to Pro Box. If you don't have the application, you can download the app. I believe it's like $1.99, $2.99 a month. Cheap. But they're so cool and they're so dope. They do it in English and Spanish, but they even put their fights on YouTube. But if you can support them, please do so. They got Chris Algieri over there. They got Paulo Mananaji. They got Juan Manuel Marquez. They got Antonio Tarver. They got a lot of people from the sport, in the sport, involved in it. And that's why I rock with them. Shout out to Pro Box. Go follow them on Instagram, Twitter. Your PR people, make sure to reach out to me, trueboxingheads@gmail.com. Any and all promotions y'all want me to tap in with y'all, let us know. Trueboxingheads with a Z@gmail.com. Send that info over and we'll be tapping in. We're showing y'all some love. But the main event, you had Erickson the Hammer Lubin, who's been up and down in his career. At one point early on, before he even became pro, he made national news when he signed with Mike Tyson Promotion, when Mike Tyson was promoting with Gary Jonas right out of the amateurs. He's still working with Gary, by the way. But he signed with Mike Tyson, and they were mad at Mike because they felt like he was interfering with the amateurs, and why are you doing that? USA Boxing was a little upset with him. But either way, he became pro. And right out the bat, he had, they were, fast charging, high rising. He had all the skills, he had the looks, he had the power. And, he eventually ran into Charley. Some people felt that he was thrown in there to the wolves a little too soon, and he got stopped. Gets back in the win column, gets him a couple wins. Then he got stopped by Fundora. But here he is, back in the game, facing Adrel Holmes Jr. in an IBF title eliminator. And now he's focused, he's locked in. Gary says no more excuses. A lot of those bad dudes at 154 pounds are no longer there. And so, the road is clear. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. A lot of those guys moving up, even, Crawford, was a bad dude at 154 pounds. He probably could have served a lot of dudes at 154 pounds. Is moving up to 168 to create a mega legacy. But either way, 154 pounds is clear for him now. And, and with the win, with the stoppage, he was able to, fight a fight that was, a little harder than many anticipated because of Adrel Holmes' style. It's kind of irky. He doesn't come straight forward. He's not slick. He's that kind of irky. One or two shots. Hold type thing. But he's undefeated. He's a real fighter. Shout out to Adrel Holmes. I remember seeing him on Showbox when he was coming up. When he was still undefeated. Still undefeated. Sometimes some people felt, he should have got a couple L's here and there, but that's neither here nor there. He's going into the fight. He's still undefeated. IBF title eliminator. He gets stopped. He gets hurt and stopped. Fought a good fight. Props to him who went to Florida. He went to the homie's backyard, and he did that. Even Lubin gave him props. Say, hey, man, thank you for coming to my backyard and fighting me. We fought as amateurs. Now we fought as pros, and we broke bread together. We made money together. I thought that was pretty cool of Lubin to do. But again, with the win, Lubin is back on top, in the sense that he gets to fight for a title and to be able to accomplish his ultimate dream of becoming a world champion, just like Leigh Wood, who got stopped, But again, the same adage, you once a champion, always a champion. So props to my boy, Erickson Lubin. I've known him for a long time. We used to have him on True Talk Radio when we used to do the blog talk thing. Speaking of that, I lost all the footage, y'all, all the radio recordings of Lubin and everybody. Shit, we had so many people, so many shows. I think we had over 150 plus, but it's okay because that's why we're doing this now, so we can have it on YouTube. But yeah, he got the win. We've been knowing him for a while, and respect. Back to the grind. He comes out of the fight fairly unscathed, so right back to the grind and keep going. So hopefully soon we can set it up where we can have fighters join us. I'm still working on that. Got to figure a way so I can upload it. I'm just trying to do this right here like this right now instead of the upside down, the portrait or whatever you call it. This is the landscape. Got the portrait. I'm learning about all this stuff, y'all. But we're running it. We're going to keep it true. We're going to talk all boxing all the time as the boxing world turns. In the co-main event of this card, you had Nicholas Flaus came into the fight 13-2. He gets the decision win over the homie Alan Sanchez from California. A lot of you people may not know about Alan Sanchez, but he's a real dude. He's a real fighter. He runs with the Diaz brothers. They run the marathons together. He's fought on their cards. I think he's signed to their MVP promotions or the Real Fighters Inc. But he runs with those boys. He runs with the Diaz brothers. He just had a kid. Congratulations to him. But I knew him growing up, in the late 2000s. I forget when Solo Boxeo Tecate used to run. But if y'all know about Solo Boxeo Tecate, he used to be on Telemundo and Unemas and all those Spanish channels. Top Rank, Zanfer, All-Star, different promotions would have it. And he used to fight on those cards. And, he came up the hard way. I think with the loss, he drops to 24-6. But again, he's a true fighter, a real fighter. I respect him. Nick Vlaus gets the win. Salute to him. But salute to my boy, Alan Sanchez. Hopefully soon we can get him in here and we could talk boxing and y'all can get to know him a little bit. Because, it's cool to interview all the dope fighters, all the guys with the big names. But we got to show love to the underdogs, too. The real ones, the true fighters. Even if a guy's 0-10, I give them props because, shit, they got the balls to step in the ring. But when you get it to the point where you're 24-6-1, over 30 fights, you fought on TV, you fought main events, co-main events, you fought all over the world, you live off this, my respect to you. So respect to Alan Sanchez. Congratulations to Nicholas Flaus, who gets the win. Congratulations to Erickson Lubin and pops to Adrel Holmes and all the fighters. The big one that we got to dive into is the fights from San Diego as the boxing world turns. Shout out to Top Rank, ESPN. They had the fights. But what is boxing without controversy? In this case, is no different. Navarrete from Mexico defending his WBO title. True fighter. Defending it against Charley Suarez, the Filipino. You got the Mexico-Philippine rivalry going on now, huh? But shout out to Charley Suarez, who came to fight. I believe he's in the Filipino army or something like that, but he's a true fighter. He came with it. I think Vaquero had a little trouble making weight, but he had that infamous breathe, and he breathes and he makes weight. Back in the day, they called that kissing the scale, where you just make 130 pounds up. And you just make the weight and you get the fuck off. That's exactly what he did. Got the drinking. But he was able to defend his title. Unfortunately, there was some drama, like I said, some controversy. Some people call it the headbutt, punch, cut. But it happened. It looked like it was going to be over early because, Navarrete had him hurt in the first round. He looked like he was going to get the stoppage. Everybody was talking about Navarrete, how was he gonna look? He looked drained. He couldn't make the weight. How does he make the weight? He's so tall. Blah blah blah. But he made it, and he had him hurt, but he survived. And then in the second round, started off the same way. He looks like he's gonna put it to Suarez. Then Suarez answers the bell. Then I was like, oh shit, we got to fight. They're going back and forth. They're going war. They're going back to back. Excuse me. They're taking shots. They're going at it, and they're going to war. And then in the middle of the fight, Suarez, there was a couple of times Suarez landed some shots on Navarrete, but we know Navarrete's tough as hell. We've seen him in there with Valdez. We've seen him against the Ukrainian, which he lost, and then that's why he moved back down to 130. But either way, man, they were going back at it, back and forth, it was give and take, type of fight. And it looks like OKC came back to tie it with less than 4 minutes. That's what you love about the live sports. But in the middle of the fight, there was that, it was definitely a punch. Twitter was going wild, Instagram was going wild. People were highly upset about it. I know it was a punch, but the only thing that made it, that threw people off, is that, when the punch landed, their heads did clash. After the clash of heads is when Navarrete did like that, and the blood starts coming down. I don't think the cut was as bad as some cuts that we've seen. Y'all remember the Badu Jack cut? That was one of the worst cuts we've ever seen. I mean, he literally has a scar on his forehead to this day. This cut was above the eye, so the blood was coming down. Yeah, it was going to be a problem, but I think it could have continued. Either way, it left the door open for controversy. The fight was over the fourth round, so they went to the scorecard, so it was a technical decision. I believe they stopped it after the seventh, eighth round, going into the eighth. I think they only fought a few into it, and then the blood kept going, and for some reason, the California Athletic State Commission called it off. In California, they do have replay. They kept going back and forth, and they ended up saying that it was from the headbutt, so they went to the scorecards, which is the controversy itself, because had it been a punch, Charley Suarez wins by knockout, technical knockout, fight's over. Now he's the champion. Now he's holding all the power, Either way, I want to see a rematch. I think they need to run it back. Respect to both warriors who were putting on a hell of a fight. I was getting amped up. It was getting good because it was back and forth. Especially, we talked about last week and how those fights let us down. The Canelo, the Garcia versus Rolly. Because, Ryan Garcia didn't bring the game, right? Only Rolly did. Well, shit, in this fight, both main event fighters came with it. You got to have both fighters. You got to have a perfect dancing partner. It's like me with a girl, I could dance good, but with the right girl, shit, I dance great. With the wrong girl, man, that boy don't know how to dance for shit. Well, that's kind of what happened with these guys. They mesh well, their styles, their egos, their pride, stylistically, they came to bang, and they let them bang. But again, controversy. I think regardless, Top Rank already said there's going to be a rematch. I would love to see it. Can't wait to see it. So I hate to see it for Suarez, Luckily, he didn't get caught up in it too much because I don't think he realized it till after the fact. But he gets his shot. Nonetheless, he's ranked already in the top 10. He earned his respect. He's going to earn the proper payday. I think the type of payday that will be able to change his life and maybe not have to work anymore in the Philippines, because y'all understand our money is different in other parts of the world. I hope that's the case because he did earn it. And regardless, wish him the best. And I can't wait to see the rematch. So we'll be talking about Navarrete Suarez 2 soon enough, in that Mexico-Filipino rivalry that goes back to Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was a big fight. In the undercard, you had Giovanni Santillan, El Gallo de Oro from San Diego, who got the win. Last time out in his hometown, San Diego, he got stopped by Brian Norman, who is now going to be fighting for a title. But he got the win, so congratulations to him. I'm proud of him. In the co-main event, Raymond Morturio, he got the decision win to win the IBF interim title at 135 pounds. He says he's ready for any of the champs. He said he'll take Lomachenko, who's the champion. They're just waiting to see what Lomachenko's going to decide, and we'll see what's going to happen. And yeah, man, so that was a lot of fights. I'm trying to do this solo dolo. Again, let me know what I missed. Shout out to ProBox TV. Shout out to Top Rank. Shout out to Zone. Shout out to Matchroom. All the promoters from this weekend. We got fights coming up. You know, we ain't gonna stop talking boxing. I'm trying to think what I can think of off the top of my head. But that's kind of the recap of the fights from this past weekend. Looking ahead, you got we talked about Bam Rodriguez going to be fighting July 19th. Du Bois and Usyk are fighting that day. Pacquiao and Barrios are fighting that day. July 19th looking like it's going to be an active day. You know, going down, baby. But this weekend, on the 14th, you got fights from Australia. You got the fights from, what is that? Commerce, California, UFC Fight Pass. You got Bokalaguk. I can't remember. The dude that fought Virgil. He fought Virgil. He's fought a few people. Right? Yeah, Michael Fox. That's going down. UFC Fight Pass. Sahiri Bohakachik. I'm bad at that name. But yeah, that's going down. Nothing too crazy this weekend. Those are the only fights I can think of. You got the fights from Australia. Not a lot of fighters that that I know about, I should say. Normally I tap into a lot of fights, but those are some cards that I'll vaguely touch the UFC Fight Pass card just because, you know, that's 360 promotion, UFC Fight Pass, and it's from Commerce, California. But if something comes up big from that, you know, I'll post it. If not, I'll just catch you guys to talk more boxing news here in the next week or two. I just want to get back into the groove of just talking boxing. I did this right here, just freestyling. I'm going to finish watching this game. It's less than a minute left. 106-103. OKC hits the shot, and they take the 6-point lead, 109-103. Maybe this might be the year. They were down double digits, and now they're coming back. The series is tied 2-2. Nuggets with the ball. Joker with the ball. What is he going to do? 28 seconds. They pass it. He shoots the three, and he misses. Yeah, pretty much game over. But like I said, True Talk Radio, True Boxing Heads, if you tapped in all the way to the end, appreciate you. What can I do? I got to come up with something where I can know you watched the whole show. I'm going to come out. I'm going to give out a T-shirt next time. And I'm gonna post a question at the end, and I'm going to post it and be like, yo, who won this or who did that? And whoever answers it in the comments, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 of y'all, and I'm going to give out a shirt. But for now, let me know where you're tapping in from. Let me know how I did. Again, freestyle. Look, only thing I had right here was my little iPad right here. That's it. I didn't even check my phone, as y'all can see. Speaking of that, let me make sure it ain't blowing up, because sometimes you know how it go. But I appreciate y'all guys. You know, True Talk Radio. I just wanted to test out this new look right here. I got the glasses on because, you know, my eyes a little bit, you know, I got the allergies, you know, wink, wink. And that's just what it is. But I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tapping in. Please subscribe. Hit the notification button. We're going to be coming with more content. I'm going to set up the studio in the back. Right now we're doing it where I do my little TikTok lives, and we're going to keep it running. I appreciate y'all. Y'all the best. I love y'all. Peace.